Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Welcome all of you once again for today's reading session. We are going to read from the book Second Chance, the story of a near-death experience by His Divine Grace Vishwaguru Abhay Charanaраvinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. We are going to read from the second chapter today, and the text will be displayed on the screen. Request you to please pay attention while I am reading, and after the completion of this chapter, we shall be having a quiz based on this chapter. Okay, so I hope you are all able to see the text. Chapter 2, in imitation of the original. Shukadev Goswami continued, My dear king, 88 years of his life passed by while Ajamila thus spent his time in abominable, sinful activities to maintain his family of 10 sons and the prostitute. The youngest child was a baby named Narayana, who was naturally very dear to his father and mother. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 1, verses 23 and 24. Parental affection. Ajamila's sinfulness Ajamila's sinfulness is shown by the fact that although he was 88 years old, he had a very young child. According to Vedic culture, one should leave home as soon as he has reached 50 years of age. One should not live at home and go on producing children. Sex is allowed for 25 years between the ages of 25 and 50. After that, one should give up the habit of sex and leave home as a vanaprastha and then properly take sannyasa. Ajamila, however, because of his association with a prostitute, lost all Brahminical culture and became most sinful even in his so-called household life. Ajamila was a young man of 20 when he met the prostitute, and he begot 10 children in her. When he was almost 90 years old, the time came when he was to die. At that time, most of his children were grown up, so naturally the youngest child, Narayana, became his parents' favorite, and Ajamila was very much attached to him. A baby's smile immediately attracts the father, mother, and relatives. When the child begins to talk, making sounds in broken language, it is very joyful for the parents. Unless this attraction is there, it is not possible to raise the child with affection. Parental affection is natural even among the animal species. In Kanpura, a monkey once came with her baby near the room where we were staying. The baby monkey entered the window through the bars, and the mother became very upset. She became mad with anxiety. Somehow or other, we pushed the baby monkey out of the bars, and immediately the mother embraced the baby and took it away with her. In human society, the affection between a mother and her child is very much eulogized But as we see, this relationship is visible even among the animals. Therefore, it is not an outstanding qualification. It is material nature's law. Unless the mother and child are affectionately connected, it is not possible for the child to grow up. Parental affection is natural and necessary, but it does not raise one to the spiritual platform. The character of the debauchee Ajamila was abominable, but he was still very affectionate toward his youngest child. Although Ajamila was nearly 90, he was still enjoying the child's playful pastimes, just as Maharaj Nanda and Mother Yashoda enjoyed the childhood pastimes of Lord Krishna. Spiritual affection and variety. Parental affection in this material world is a perverted reflection of parental affection in the spiritual world, where it is found in its pure original form. Everything originates with the transcendental reality. As stated in the Vedanta Sutra 1.1.2, Janmadhyasya yataha, Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 1, Verse 1. The supreme absolute truth is that from which everything emanates. If the affection between a child and his parents did not exist in the absolute truth, it could not exist in the material world. Since the absolute truth is the source of everything, whatever varieties we see here in this material world are simply reflections of the varieties in the spiritual world. If the absolute truth were without variety, then where have all these varieties come from? No, the absolute truth is not impersonal or nirakara, or without variety or nirvishesha. Still, some persons called Mayavadis are so disappointed and frustrated with the imperfect varieties of this material world that they imagine the spiritual world to be impersonal and without variety. These impersonalists realize that they are Brahman or spirit, but they do not know that there are innumerable planets in the Brahma Jyoti or spiritual atmosphere. They think that all the Brahma Jyoti itself is, they think that the Brahma Jyoti itself is all in all. The impersonalists have no information of the Vaikuntha planets, and due to their imperfect knowledge, they again come down to these material planets. As said in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 2, Verse 32, Yeneravindaksha vimuktamaninaha त्वय्यस्तभावादविशुद्ध बुद्धयः आरुह्य कृच्छ्रेण परं पदं ततः पतन्त्यधो नादृतयुष्मदङ्घ्रयः. Although impersonalists are almost liberated, still, on account of their negligence of the lotus feet of Krishna, their intelligence is not yet purified. Thus, despite performing severe austerities to rise up to the platform of Brahman, they must fall down again to this material world. Spiritual form and spiritual pastimes. The impersonalist philosophers cannot differentiate between activities in the material world and similar activities in the spiritual world. Nor do they differentiate between the material form and God's form. They are convinced that the impersonal Brahma Jyoti, the spiritual effulgence emanating from the Lord's body, is the supreme absolute truth. The Mayavadis mistakenly assume that when God appears, he accepts a material body, just as we have taken this material form in the material world. That kind of thinking is impersonalism, or Mayavada philosophy. God has a form, but not a material form like ours. His form is Satchidananda Vigraha, Brahma Samhita, chapter 5, verse 1. A spiritual form full of eternity, bliss, and knowledge. Anyone who understands the transcendental nature of Krishna's form achieves perfection. This Krishna confirms in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, verse 9. Janma karma cha me divyam evam yo vetti tattvataha tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti bhuvana. When I come, I do not accept a material body. My birth and activities are completely spiritual. Whoever correctly understands this is liberated. When Krishna displayed himself as the perfect child before Mother Yashoda, he would break everything when she did not supply him with butter, as if he were in need of butter. So God can display himself exactly like an ordinary human being, yet he remains the supreme personality of Godhead. Impersonalists cannot know God because they see him as an ordinary man. This is rascaldom, as Krishna declares in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, verse 11. Avajananti mamudha. Only rascals accept me as an ordinary human being. The Mayavadis say, "Oh, here is a child. How can he be God?" Even Brahma and Indra became bewildered. They thought, "How can this boy be the supreme Lord? Let me test him." Sometimes a so called incarnation of God declares, "I am God." He should be tested to determine whether or not he is actually God. The Mayavadis are claiming, "I am God, I am Krishna, I am Rama." Everyone becomes Krishna, everyone becomes Rama, yet people do not challenge their claims. If you are Rama, exhibit your supreme potency. Rama constructed a bridge over the Indian Ocean. What have you done? At the age of 7, Krishna lifted Govardhana hill. What have you done? When they are challenged by Krishna's pastimes, these rascals say, "It is all fiction, it is all legend." Therefore, people accept an ordinary person as Rama or Krishna. This nonsense is going on, and both those who declare themselves to be God and those who accept them as God will have to suffer for it. Anyone can claim to be God, and any foolish person can accept it, but no one will benefit by serving a false God. Once Lord Brahma thought that Krishna might also be such a false God. He observed that a mere boy in Vrindavan, India, was accepted as the Supreme Lord and that he was performing extraordinary activities. So Brahma decided to make a test. He took away all of Krishna's calves and playmates and hid them. When Brahma returned to Vrindavan after 1 year and saw the same calves and playmates still there, he could understand that Krishna had expanded himself by his unlimited potency into so many calves and boys. The boys' own mothers could not detect that their sons were Krishna's expansions, though the mothers could not explain why every evening when their boys returned home from the fields, their affection for them increased more and more. Finally, Brahma surrendered to Krishna, composing very nice prayers in glorification of the Lord. Similarly, Indra became bewildered when Krishna told his father Nanda Maharaj, "There is no need of performing sacrifices to Indra because he is under the order of the Supreme Lord." Krishna did not say to Nanda Maharaj, I am the Supreme Lord. But he said, Indra is under the order of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, he has to supply you with water. So there is no need of performing this yajna or sacrifice to him. When the sacrifice to Indra was stopped, he became furious and tried to punish the inhabitants of Vrindavan by sending incessant torrents of rain for 7 days. Vrindavan was nearly drowned in water. So great was the downpour. But Krishna, a child of about 7 years, immediately lifted Govardhana hill and invited all the residents of Vrindavana, together with their animals, to take shelter underneath the hill. Krishna held up the hill for 7 days and nights without taking any food or rest, just to protect the residents of Vrindavan. Thus, Indra understood that Krishna was the supreme personality of Godhead. In this way, the Srimad Bhagavatam warns that if even great personalities like Brahma and Indra can sometimes become bewildered by Maya, the external manifestation of Krishna's energy, then what to speak of us? So, God sometimes displays himself as God and sometimes as a human being, but the rascal impersonalists dismiss his pastimes as legend or mythology. Either they do not believe in the Shastras or they interpret them in their own way using Ardha Kukkuti Nyaya, the logic of half a hen. Once a man kept a hen that delivered a golden egg every day. The foolish man thought, it is very profitable, but it is expensive to feed this hen. Better that I cut off her head and have the expense and save the expense of feeding her. Then I will get the egg without any charge. The impersonalists accept the Shastras in this way. They think, oh, this is not good, it is inconvenient. We shall cut this portion out. When Krishna says, one should see me everywhere, the rascal Mayavadis think it is very palatable. But when he says, give up everything and surrender to me, they disagree. They accept what is convenient and reject what is not. But the Acharyas do not distort the Shastras in this way. When Krishna spoke the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna said, I accept whatever you have said. The absolute truth full of knowledge. The Vedanta Sutra is accepted as the supreme authority of all Vedic literature. And the Vedanta Sutra says, Janmadhyasya yataha. The absolute truth is the original source of everything. Janma means birth. There is no question of interpretation. The meaning is clear. Everything in this material world comes out of the absolute truth, just as this body comes out of the womb of our mother. Janmadhyasya yataha. Beginning from birth up to the annihilation, everything is an emanation from the absolute truth. The absolute truth is that which is the source of everything, the reservoir of everything, and the maintainer of everything. What are the characteristics of the original source? The Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 1, Verse 1 says, Janmadhyasya yatonvayaditaratas abhignaswarat. The original source of everything must be supremely cognizant of everything, both directly and indirectly. He is the Supreme Spirit, and He knows everything because He is perfect. We are also spiritual sparks. And as soon as a spiritual spark takes shelter in the womb of a mother, it develops a body. That means that the spiritual spark is the source of the body and all its mechanisms. Although it is by our energy that this body is produced, we do not know how our veins are created or how our bones are created. And because we do not know, we are not God. But Krishna knows. This is the characteristic of the absolute truth. He knows everything. Krishna confirms this in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, verse 26. I know everything that has happened in the past, everything that is happening now, and everything that will happen in the future. We become cognizant of the absolute truth by accepting knowledge from a spiritual master. But how has Krishna become perfectly cognizant? How is Krishna's knowledge so perfect? Because he is fully independent, Swarat. He does not have to learn anything from anyone. Some rascal may try to realize himself as God by taking knowledge from a Mayavadi, but Krishna is God without taking knowledge from anyone. That is God. Thus ends chapter 2 of the second chance entitled In Imitation of the Original. So now, so now we have completed reading the second chapter. I hope all of you heard it attentively. Now we will be having a short quiz. It will be a multiple choice questions type of quiz. So hear the questions and the options attentively. You have to answer A, B, C, or D. So here's your first question. Material paternal affection is described as. Your options are A. More perfect than spiritual affection. B. A perverted reflection of spiritual parental affection. C. A purely physical bond with no spiritual basis. D. Incomplete and therefore unimportant. So please type your answers A, B, C, or D. Okay. So I've received 8 answers and all of them say B. Yes, B is the right answer. You're right. So material parental affection is a perverted reflection of spiritual parental affection. Perverted means upside down. Just like if you go to a river bank and let's say there is a tree on the river bank, you can see the reflection of the tree in the water of the river, but you will see it pervertedly. You will see it upside down. The roots will be up, the branches will be down. That's called perverted reflection. So, whatever we see here in this material world, all kinds of love and affection, they're actually perverted reflection of the actual pure love and affection that exists in the spiritual world in Krishna's dealings with his devotees. That is the meaning. Okay, let us go to the second question now. The source of all affection in the material world is. Your options are A. Human psychology. B. Random chance. C. The absolute truth. D. Biological instincts. Please type your answers. Okay. So I've received 6 answers. All of them are C. They say C is the answer, and C is the right answer. The source of all affection in the material world is the absolute truth. So, absolute truth means that which exists always, which is changeless, which is the source of everything. As Prabhupada quoted the Vedanta Sutra, Janmadhyasya yataha. And that absolute truth is actually not some energy, that absolute truth is a person. He is the supreme personality of Godhead, Bhagavan, and that is Krishna. Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. This is the declaration of the Shastras. So, Krishna, the absolute truth, is the source of all affection that we see in this world. Okay, let's go to the next question. The spiritual world is declared or described as, your options are A, without relationships, B, full of perfect original forms of affection, C, identical to the material world, D, lifeless and impersonal. Yes, Vikas Singh, Kripalu Keshav Prabhu, Harshit, Jagannath Prasad, Abhishek, Chetna Mataji, and Krishna. All of you have given the right answer. It's B, full of perfect original forms of affection. So spiritual world is also called as anti-material world. Material world is the world in which we are living currently, and material world goes through creation, maintenance, and destruction. But exactly opposite to this is the spiritual world, which is also called Vaikuntha, which does not go through creation and destruction, and their life is eternal, full of knowledge and blissful. The souls who have attained liberation, who have attained pure devotion to Krishna or to Lord Vishnu, they get eligibility to enter the spiritual world and live in the association of the Lord there. And that spiritual world is full of perfect original forms of relationships and affection. Okay, let's go to the next question. Who mistakenly thinks that the spiritual world is impersonal and without variety? Your options are A, devotees, B, scientists, C, Mayavadis, D, spiritual masters. Yes. So, yes, the right answer is C, as all of you have mentioned. C, Mayavadis is the right answer. Mayavadis are a kind of philosophers who say that ultimately everything is Maya, illusion. They say that uh, God, when he comes to this material world, he also comes under the influence of Maya. So, according to their philosophy, Maya is more powerful than God because Maya has the ability to cover even God and bewilder him, which is actually wrong philosophy. So, since they say everything is Maya, God comes under Maya, therefore they are called Mayavadis. So, these Mayavadis think that ultimately God is not a person, God is impersonal energy. And they also say that there is no variety in the spiritual world. So, these are the mistaken ideas propounded by the Mayavadi scholars. Okay, let's go to the last question for today. Okay, let us see the next last question. Hmm. Spiritual form, as discussed in this chapter, means spiritual form means what? Your options are A, material body that dies, B, eternal, blissful, knowledge full form, C, a psychological idea, D, a symbolic representation only. Spiritual form means what? Yes. So all of you have given the right answer. The right answer is B. So that is spiritual form means eternal, blissful, knowledgeful form. Actually, this is called Satchidananda Vigraha. Sat means eternal, Chit means full of knowledge, and Ananda means full of bliss. This is actually, and it is Vigraha. Vigraha means form, it is not formless. So Krishna has got Satchidananda Vigraha, form, form which is eternal, full of knowledge, and blissful. So when we connect with Krishna by chanting his holy names, the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, And when we render service to Krishna, when we associate with Krishna more and more, we can also revive our original Satchidananda form and become eligible to go back to the spiritual world. So, there we come to the end of today's session. Thank you all for joining. We shall continue to read from this book tomorrow also. Please join us at 1:30 p.m. ग्रंथरा श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, विश्व
Jai
गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय।
Jai Jai.
हरे कृष्णा।
Thank you.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.